pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it nation under God.
Oh, where's Phil? Okay. I would like to call to order. We're good. Call to order the December 1, 2023 meeting of the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. Could we have a roll call, please?
Regent Latoro.
Here.
Regent Molina.
Here.
Regent Peckish.
Here.
Regent Schultes.
Here.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Here.
Regent O'Connor. Regent Schaefer.
Here.
Regent Shear.
Here.
Regent Stark.
Here.
Regent Whites.
Here.
Regent Wilmot.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Thank you. For all in attendance, please note that in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, the board has posted a copy of the act near the south entrance of the boardroom. Included in your materials is a copy of the minutes from our meeting on November 7, 2023. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Regent Molina.
Yes.
Regent Peckish.
Yes.
Regent Schultes.
Yes.
Regent Latoro.
Yes.
Regent Kenny. Regent O'Connor. Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Shear. Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Regent Clare.
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Thank you. At the beginning of each Board of Regents meeting, we take time to recognize those persons who all too often don't receive the recognition that they deserve. The Board of Regents believes that it is vitally important that we acknowledge your commitment to the university as well as your contributions to the university. As the kudos recipients are announced, please come to the podium, right up there, and join the regent making the presentation. Following each presentation, we will take a picture that will appear on our website. The president, chancellor, and the recipients' families and supporters will be invited to join into the photo. So our first kudos recipient is Brian Peterson from the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and the award will be presented by Regent Molina. We have, I suppose you probably got to be present to win.
None of them are here. Yeah.
Meeting somewhere. Well, that's weird.
Are they coming?
I lost on the way here.
Can you juggle for us?
Chancellor. Couple more months, yeah.
Yeah, get ready.
Give Liz a kudos.
All right, yeah, well, we're going to go a little bit out of order today. We'll come back to the kudos. As all of you know too well, at the end of the month, Ted Carter, a 38-year veteran of the United States Navy and really a true American hero, will step down as president of the University of Nebraska. Today is his last Board of Regents meeting as president. As such, I would like to offer up the following resolution on behalf of the board in gratitude and in recognition of Ted's contributions and service to the University of Nebraska. So the resolution reads as follows. Whereas Walter E. Carter has served as president of the University of Nebraska system since January 1, 2020, and whereas during his tenure as president, Walter E. Carter has provided outstanding leadership to the university, guiding the development of the 5-year strategy and more recently a 5-point reinvention plan to set the university on a course for readmission into the Association of American Universities. And whereas Walter E. Carter protected the long-term financial health and viability of the university through a historic deferred maintenance partnership with state policymakers and administrative efficiencies which addressed extremely difficult budget challenges while protecting the university's core mission areas. And whereas Walter E. Carter has been an effective and tireless advocate for the University of Nebraska, building enduring relationships with the governor and members of the legislature that have helped maintain a stable base of state support and a secure funding for initiatives that serve all Nebraska, including the UNK-UNMC Rural Health Education Project. And whereas Walter E. Carter made affordable access to a high-quality education his highest priority, advocating for a 2-year tuition freeze and increasing student financial aid, championing the Nebraska Promise Program, and bringing the Nebraska Career Scholarship Program to fruition. And whereas Walter E. Carter has served as president during a period of record levels of funding for research and intellectual property in areas critical to Nebraska and to the world, and whereas Walter E. Carter has played a pivotal role in the University of Nebraska's Foundation's highly successful campaign Only in Nebraska, a campaign for our university's future, which has raised more than $2 billion and engaged nearly 132,000 unique donors to support student access to success, faculty, academic, and clinical excellence, and transformational research and innovation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Regents expresses on behalf of the University of Nebraska, along with its wide-ranging community, the deepest admiration, respect, and thanks to Walter E. Ted Carter for his exemplary service as president of the University of Nebraska, and bestows upon him the title of President Emeritus, and wishes Ted, Linda, Brittany, Christopher, and now baby granddaughter continued success and happiness. And if there's no objection, I'd suggest that this resolution be adopted by acclamation.
Second.
Hearing no objections, it is so adopted. President Carter, thank you.
Thank you.
President Carter. Let's go back to kudos. Okay. We'll come back to comments by our president. Our first kudos recipient is Brian Peterson from the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and the award will be presented by Regent Molina.
Thank you. Omaha-born, Brian Peterson earned his undergraduate degree in wildlife biology and his Master of Science in biology from UNK. Being part of the UNK family for 30 years as a student, a fisheries research technician, and now as coordinator of the online Master of Science in Biology program, he has been involved with the online program since its inception, from sending VHS tapes and CDs to students to now streaming on demand. This year, the program celebrates 20 years of online teaching excellence. Brian is the first line of communication for students, from original inquiry to walking across the stage on graduation day. He gives prompt, accurate service and manages all required documents as they navigate the program. His efforts to recruit and retain students include attending state and regional conferences, generating leads with minimal funding, serving on departmental and campus committees, and working with thesis-based on-campus graduate students as they move through their programs. He also regularly assists departmental faculty with daily operational needs. Brian's passion for the outdoors attracted him to UNK in 1995. Sharing that passion with on-campus and distance graduate students, undergraduate Thompson Scholars, and research fellows has resulted in original research, peer-reviewed publications, and many popular articles. His passion for the outdoors extends to the community too. He is a certified fishing instructor. He guides youth through first-time hunting experiences and has conducted original wildlife educational events for Nebraska Game and Parks Outdoor Expos, Girl Scouts, UNK Paws University, the Henry Dorley Zoo Academy, Nebraska Extension, and Nebraska Science Senior Day visits. Brian's wife, Holly, is also a UNK alum and now administrative coordinator for UNK's Division of Student Affairs. They have two sons, Tyler, a UNK sophomore, and Trevor, a Kearney High senior admitted to UNK for fall 2024. Holly is here today as Brian's guest, along with biology colleague and interim senior vice chancellor for academic affairs, Julie Schaefer. Congratulations to Brian Peterson for innovative and committed service to his students, his discipline, and to UNK.
Family.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Brian. Thank you. Regent Peckish will present the Kudos Award to Andrew Brown from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Andrew Brown, Assistant Director of Community Engagement for Student Leadership and Involvement at UNL. Andrew provides leadership for student-centered community engagement activities and direct service opportunities with local nonprofits in Lincoln and Lancaster County. Since assuming his role in 2021, he has completely redefined, redeveloped, and revitalized UNL's community engagement programs. Through these and other activities, Andrew has grown the experiential engagement options for students through development of new programs, growth of existing programs, and expansion and enhancement of community partnerships. Last semester, a new student volunteer ambassador group program was initiated, serving 20 nonprofit organizations through 1,760 volunteer hours, resulting in an economic impact value for the Lincoln community organizations totaling nearly $56,000. The Husker Vote Coalition program has grown in both number of student ambassadors, the number of events hosted, and the number of students registered to vote. Ambassadors have assisted with tabling events, nights of listening sessions such as decoding the ballot, and helping to register 5,257 students to vote via paper registration forms and online voter portals. As a result, UNL is one of two recipients of the 2023 All-In-Campus Democracy Challenge Award for campus nonpartisan student voting. Andrew's impact on the lives of students is seen in his countless personal connections both on campus and in the community. He is sincere in his relationship building and embodies the sentiment that every person and every interaction matters. His passion for serving students and positively impacting the community is exemplary. Joining Andrew today are his wife, Andrea, Veronica Repe, the Director of Student Life and Leadership, Involvement and Community Engagement, Ryan Lane, the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Life and Leadership, and Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dee Dee Anderson. Please join me in thanking Andrew Brown for his dedication to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
Fantastic, thank you, and congratulations to Andrew. Next, Regent Schultes will present the Kudos Award to Erica Hansen from the University of Nebraska Medical Center.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I am pleased to present a Kudos Award to Erica Hansen, a clinical research associate in the Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Center Clinical Trials Office at UNMC. Erica performs research-related tasks that directly impact the success of UNMC's clinical trials. Her work supports UNMC's investigators, research nurses, data coordinators, regulatory coordinators, and most importantly, patients. Overall, she is responsible for research lab specimen coordination and shipping, management of source documents, pathology requests, insurance predetermination requests, completion of billing matrices, and other essential tasks related to clinical trial management. She collaborates not only with the internal team, but also clinical trial sponsors and their teams, which span the world. Collaborators near and far compliment her for the work that she does. Said her nominator, although most of our patients will never meet Erica, I would like them to know how hard people like Erica work to support their care at Nebraska Medicine. Erica knows that her efforts are for the good of our patients in the future of oncology therapeutics. Today, Erica is joined by her supervisor, Rachel Brantley, her partner, Trent Hoft, her dad and stepmom, Kevin and Sarah Hansen, along with her coworker, Susan Blummel. Please join me in thanking Erica for her tireless support of our medical center's patients, investigators, and clinical trials office.
Great. Congratulations, Erica. And Kara Ortega from the University of Nebraska at Omaha is our final recipient today, and her award will be presented by Regent Latoro.
All right. The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Kara Ortega, the Associate Registrar at the University of Nebraska at Omaha and the University Registrar Office. Waime Furman, the Director of Academic Advising and the Certification Officer for the UNO College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences, said of Kara, Kara goes above and beyond the expectations in everything that she does. She's a go-to colleague for the entire UNO campus, and we can count on her ability to think creatively, to problem solve, and support students. Ortega's leadership and willingness to collaborate helps faculty and staff better support students as they select classes and complete their degree programs. Kara's work encompasses removing barriers for students. She understands how important an accurate degree audit system is to a student. Kara's partnerships across campus are integral to the success of advising. As a former academic advisor, Kara understands the nuances of advising and brings this experience to her current role as Associate Registrar. With Kara today are her guests, Dr. Rich Klein, the UNO Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness and Student Success, and Matt Schill, the UNO University Registrar. Please join me in thanking Kara with her dedication to the university.
Once Lauren gets.
Got it.
More.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Kara. And Brian, Andrew, Erica, and Kara, thank you for all you do for your respective campuses and for the university. We appreciate your great work. While our kudos recipients are most welcome to stay and observe the balance of our business meeting, if you wish to leave now, We take no offense, and you may do so at this time. Thank you for joining us, and again, congratulations to all of our kudos recipients. Okay, we're going to get back on our schedule, and I'm going to ask President Carter if he'd like to make some remarks. President Emeritus Ted Carter.
Thank you, Chair Clare, and I want to say thank you to the entire board for the very kind resolution and the opportunity to serve here with you for the University of Nebraska for the past 4 years. I want to provide the board with an update on the 5-point plan that we issued in June at your bidding to reprioritize our resource allocations and get Nebraska back into the company of the country's best universities. I want to start with this. I know we have major leadership transition ahead of us. Some may ask whether this is a reason to hit pause on the hard work necessary in reimagining the University of Nebraska. I would suggest the opposite. We have the right vision, and now is the time to see it through. This board showed great leadership in recognizing that if we want to grow and compete in today's higher education environment, we need to bring new thinking to the table. You made clear that the status quo was no longer acceptable, and you challenged us to be bold. Our 5-point plan is a response to that challenge. And since we shared it with you this summer, we've been working literally day and night to put this plan into action. We are now in the perfect position to put our foot on the accelerator. We have 100% confidence that our team, under the leadership of Chris Kabork, if you approve him as the interim president later today, will continue this work without missing a beat. So now I want to say a word about the why. I know the word cuts tends to get a lot of attention in headlines, and I'm certain that we have people here that are going to talk to the board concerned about cuts. And we're going to listen to those folks, and their voices should be heard. Certainly no one is pretending we will not have to make difficult decisions throughout this process. The reality is that our expenses are rising faster than new dollars are coming in. Enrollment declines have heightened the challenge. We have to make choices to close that gap. And the sooner we make those choices, we will lessen the opportunity for major cuts that we're seeing at other major universities across the country and protect our mission. But here's how I want to reframe the conversation. The 5-point plan is not a plan to make cuts. It is a plan to set priorities and reinvest our resources. I put readmission into the AAU at the top of that list, an achievement that signals that Nebraska belongs with the best of the best. This is about creating a culture of excellence. Now, I've heard some folks say that we can't cut our way into the AAU. The way I see it, we can't use the status quo to get our way back into the AAU. If the status quo was good enough, we'd already been readmitted by now. If we're candid with ourselves, we acknowledge that our trends with regard to enrollment, national rankings, and even research have not made a convincing case. I don't think most Nebraskans are okay with the status quo. Nebraskans understand the importance of an excellent and competitive university. Just like they want to see us earn the #1 overall seed in the NCAA volleyball tournament, they want to see excellence on the academic side as well. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to have to bring some different thinking, as this board challenged us to do, by being disciplined, our priorities, and directing our dollars where they will make the greatest impact, like faculty salaries, world-leading academic programs, research capacity, and student access and success. We know what happens when we're disciplined about our priorities because we have done it before. At the height of COVID, when other institutions were hunkering down, we took a look at our budget and built a plan to not only weather the storm, but grow through it. The results speak for themselves. We brought faculty salaries at UNL and UNMC in line with the peer average, the first time we've accomplished that as long as anybody can remember. We launched the Nebraska Promise, which has now served over 18,000 Nebraska students and counting. We built a historic plan together with the legislature and governor to address $800 million in deferred maintenance needs and eventually became self-sustaining and taking care of the buildings where our students, faculty, teach and learn. And in another partnership with the state, we are part of the Nebraska Career Scholarships Program that provides aid to students in high-demand areas. It just so happens that our annual career scholarships report was due to the legislature today, so I have some hot off-the-press numbers to share with you. The University of Nebraska Career Scholarships recipients have a 92% retention rate compared to 80% for non-recipients. and more than 3/4 of the career scholarship graduates from 2022 are employed in the state of Nebraska. This program is having an immediate and significant impact on students in our workforce, and I'm very grateful for this partnership. Now we have an opportunity to apply this strategic mindset across the entire University of Nebraska system, one where we set priorities and stick to them. Now, this means acknowledging that the University of Nebraska can't be all things to all people. Nebraskans are generous in supporting their university, but taxpayers do not have the bottomless wallets. We can't afford to do everything we wish we could do, just like any Nebraska family or business. Our enrollment losses make it all the more important that we have the courage to say no to things that are not on our priority list. I have pledged to the governor and to the legislature that it is our responsibility, not the taxpayers, to right-size our spending in line with our enrollment declines. So that means we need to think very carefully about what we will ask the Nebraska taxpayers to support. Do we expect taxpayers to pay for programs that, however worthy, produce close to 0 graduates for Nebraska's workforce? Do we expect taxpayers to subsidize duplicative back-office functions across a single university system? Do we think taxpayers should fund operations a certain way just because that's how it's always been done, or should we use every dollar to get better? I have a hard time justifying taxpayer dollars for programs that don't generate enough student interest to meet the state's minimum performance standards. I believe that's a cost we can't afford. I'd rather invest those dollars into high-growth, high-potential programs that can set Nebraska apart. Agriculture, engineering, national defense, cancer research, and yes, a strong, robust, comprehensive liberal arts education. Now, you've all heard me say this before. I am the son of an English teacher. But preserving our strength in the liberal arts does not require us to offer every program on every campus. The University of Nebraska can and should be the destination of choice for any student in just about any field of study. But in areas where student numbers are extremely low, we simply may not be able to afford or duplicate programs on multiple campuses. Again, that's a cost we can't afford. These are the types of questions that are informing our zero-based budget process and operations review. As you recall, we asked the chancellors and vice presidents to undertake an exercise to justify our non-academic spending and review business functions that remain decentralized or distributed across the campuses. I know this has required a great deal of effort by our teams, and I thank everyone who has contributed. The point of conducting such a comprehensive review is to have our analysis in writing so that we can make a thoughtful, informed decision about our path forward. Those submissions are due to our office today. And I want to reiterate, the zero-based budget review does not review academic programs. These are administrative functions only. So we've not had a chance to even review those documents, much less make any decisions. We have meetings scheduled with each chancellor in the next few weeks to review their submissions. I'm expecting this work to continue in earnest through the rest of the month and through the next 6 months. This work is too important not to be full steam ahead. Our vision is that on the other side of this process, we will have found resources within our existing budget to invest in excellence. A $58 million figure for our shortfall has been cited many times in public communications. And I want to reiterate, $58 million, that's a big number. It gets people's attention. But I also want to put it in context. We're talking about our operational state-funded budget. That's the money we get from taxpayers and from tuition revenue. That's a little over $1 billion. So we're talking about 5.8% of the budget is what we need to find. But if we just focus on that, again, that shortfall will only get us to the status quo. If we want to make exciting progress in our goal for the AAU mission, we may want to be able to invest our strategic priorities as they arise and go further. Just to give you an idea of what we've been doing, we have notified the National Science Foundation that we will report the Office of the President, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and the University of Nebraska Medical Center research expenditures as a unified figure for fiscal year 2023. In reporting this way, for the first time, dating back to 1968, we instantly start to look like a national player. Probably while every other institution in the Big Ten except Purdue, which doesn't have a medical center, operates in the exact same way. When our two institutions, UNMC and UNL, with a statewide research mission work hand in hand, that rising tide will lift all of our university boats. Agriculture benefits when UNL and UNMC are closely aligned. cancer research benefits, defense research benefits. Our breadth and impact is extended. Additionally, as I shared with you before, we are building a robust dashboard to measure ourselves against all of the AAU institutions and their metrics. This will be up to interim leadership, but my hope is the dashboard will be ready for viewing by our Board of Regents and the public early next year. I'm pleased that our leadership teams will now have a concrete way to measure ourselves and make adjustments to show progress. I think the dashboard will bear out what this board articulated months ago. The status quo is not the path to excellence. These steps are part of our strategy to keep playing offense. You'll remember in the early part of our budget discussions, we've been talking about the headwinds of this budget discussion for over a year, so these budget discussions should not be a surprise to anybody, that I said the University of Nebraska needs to be able to play offense and defense at the same time, and we're doing just that. What does that look like? It means that even though our teams are making hard decisions about where to spend and where to pull back, we are also making investments that will move our university and state forward. I occasionally hear suggestions that we should pause or delay big initiatives because we are facing budget challenges. I think we're better than that. Hunkering down will get us nowhere except the status quo. Hunkering down will definitely not get us back into the AAU. So yes, we are going to chase excellence in all facets, even as we manage challenges. Excellence is a comprehensive effort. That's why we've seen us increase our investment in the Nebraska Promise. It's why you've seen us recruit a national rock star to lead our pancreatic cancer research. It's why you've seen us put shovels in the ground for a transformational rural health facility. It's why you've seen us launch ambitious capital projects like the renovation of Memorial Stadium and Project Health at UNMC. These are all efforts that will benefit students and Nebraskans, and we are capable of doing them all at once. Excellence is not a zero-sum game. So to the Board of Regents, I want to say thank you for letting me have this time with you this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for me. I'll finish by just saying I have great confidence in this team and the plan that you've put before us.
Comments from anyone? I'd like to thank you for your service, not only to our country but also to the University of Nebraska. You came in and battled headwinds right from the start with COVID, but you provided excellent leadership for us and excellent leadership that benefited the university and benefited the state of Nebraska, if not the world. So I appreciate that. This 5-point plan, you read about some other institutions that we were talking about last night, and the budget challenges, real incredible issues that are facing there was the article in the paper yesterday about the University of Arizona. That is significant. And the figure that they put out there was 4 times what our shortfall is. 4 times that.
And about the same size.
So we've gotten out front on this, and I appreciate what Chris Kaborik and Stacia and Phil and the entire team have done in terms of getting us prepared for this over the last year. We will accomplish this. We will come out stronger, and then with the focus on accountability, the focus on getting back into the AAU, the focus on excellence in a time of challenge. I remembered when you were speaking, I remembered when the stock market, this was back in the 80s, the stock market went from 1,500 down to under 1,000, Black Monday, and or Black Tuesday, excuse me, I think. Anyway, I remember everybody was hunkering down, and what did Warren Buffett say? Great time to buy.
Right.
And so it's going to be a great time to thrive, great time to really refocus what we're trying to get done, and that is positions of excellence that benefit the university and the entire state of Nebraska, if not the world. With that, anybody else have any comments that they'd like to make? Elizabeth?
I do want to thank President Carter and his team for all the work that they've done to begin work on this 5-point plan. I think it's critical that we are good stewards of not just taxpayer funds, but tuition dollars and donors' dollars as well. I do want to underscore President Carter's remarks that this is just the beginning of this conversation. The Regents still have a lot to figure out about this plan, and a plan is just that. It's a plan. It's not a final document, and we're still interested in hearing from professors, from university administration, and from the public, because we know that this is a university for all of us and not just a university for some of us. So
I look forward to the work that we're going to do. I think it's important that we are good stewards of the state, but ultimately the buck stops with the Board of Regents, and I think all of us intend to continue listening and to continue being good partners to you. So I think it's important that we also continue to advocate for the university and to recognize that the university is an investment for the state and an investment for the workforce, and an investment does require funds to continue. So I look forward to continuing this conversation. I think that we have a great start. I really appreciate that President Carter chose to stay with us and to work on this plan. I think that's a gift to all of us. But today is not the end of the road.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, let's move forward. The standing rules of the board provide that any person may appear and address the board on items that are not on the agenda if an individual provides the corporate secretary with 24 hours notice. Each person wishing to speak will be given 3 minutes to make remarks. We were contacted by 11 individuals wishing to speak on a topic that is not on today's agenda. And I just want to add, we are an institution that will enable people to come and speak, but as it was pointed out today by one of my colleagues, this is not a pep rally. This is a situation where we're going to have decorum, we're going to have respect, we're going to listen, and we're going to consider. We are not going to be replying to any comments, but we have the opportunity to have you make have your remarks heard by us. But please, let's be respectful of everyone, okay? So our first speaker is David Begley.
Good morning, David Begley, 4611 South 96th Street. I previously, last year, sent an email to Regent Clare on a matter of public concern, and he promptly responded to my email. So the issue was child mutilation and medical experiments then being performed on minors at UMC. In 2023, the legislature and the governor act and passed LB 574, the Let Them Grow Act. One of your main jobs as regents is hiring the right people to run the University of Nebraska system. You're engaged in that right now, looking for a replacement for President Carter. You need a person with excellent judgment in that spot, and I think President Carter had excellent judgment. He hired Trev Alberts. But you also, you have to fire people for poor judgment. I submit that the Board of Regents should fire Dr. James Linder, who is the CEO of Nebraska Medicine. He also holds an appointment in the Department of Pathology at UNMC. You should also fire Anna Kramer, who is the General Counsel for Nebraska Medicine, and any other senior person that made this exceptionally poor judgment and decision to allow child mutilation. President Carter is a Navy man. He knows that if a ship commander runs a ship aground, that person is fired. That's accountability. Attorney Kramer certainly told Dr. Linder that parents had to sign off on these sex change operations. Dr. Linder and Ms. Kramer also knew that until recently, people with gender dysphoria were classified as mentally ill per the DSM. Some of these parents are also mentally ill. So these surgeries and drugs are a permanent result that can't be changed. The prime rule of medicine is do no harm. So the legislature acted, said you got to wait till majority age. But Dr. Linder and Attorney Kramer went ahead with that bad policy. On the issue of judgment, I'm going to give you some words of wisdom from a Jesuit priest in 1647. The book is, I've given it to Regent Whites, Regent Clare, and President Carter. Never act unless you think it is prudent to do so. Prudence refuses to deal in probability. It always walks under the midday sun of reason. Transcendent judgment in every situation. This is the first and highest rule in acting and speaking. The more necessary, the greater and higher your occupation. An ounce of prudence is worth a pound of cleverness. Last issue, I would suggest or submit to the board that you should drop DEI like the University of Iowa did. Many people, and Regent Pillen and now Governor Pillen, he was on that track before when he was with you. Many people say that DEI programs are the root cause for this horrible, unbelievable anti-Semitism that's going on in campuses all around the country. It's not going on at UNL, thank goodness. My time is up. Thank you.
Kathy Sweet.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Sweet, and I've been the Interim Director of Montessori Education at UNK since 2020. I'm here today to defend our program that has been recommended for elimination. This is a unique program that Montessori schools in Nebraska and beyond rely on to keep their programs running with credentialed teachers. Teachers who are committed to this child-centered, individualized, and holistic approach choose UNK over programs closer to home for its accessible online format, growing reputation, and quality instruction that is grounded in Montessori theory and pedagogy. In May 2023, 11 students completed our program. 15 will complete the program in May 2024, and 13 in May 2025. The Chancellor has said that a program needs 7 graduates per year to be sustainable. Let me say our numbers again, 11, 15, 13. Clearly, we are meeting the required numbers. The program calls for an endowed chair with Montessori credentials as well as a terminal degree, qualifications that are hard to find. I've been told our program is unsustainable due to the inability to fill this position. I stand here today with Montessori credentials, ABD status on a doctoral degree, and I tell you that I have run this program for 3.5 years to the highest standards. I don't hold the title of endowed chair because the Dean of the College of Education took it upon himself last spring to add an additional qualification to the position, one that was not on the job posting and is nowhere in writing. This was a year after telling me that I would qualify for the position after reaching ABD status. Failure to maintain a Montessori classroom at the UNK campus childcare has also been stated as a reason for ending the program. This method of education is new to the area, and it's expected that it'll take a while to sustain. Meanwhile, the presence of a Kearney classroom, while that would help us to recruit students from central Nebraska, it literally has no bearing on our nationwide enrollment, which is steadily climbing. I'd like to call your attention to other financial decisions made by the UNK administration in recent years. In 2021, the salary of the child care director on campus was raised from $45,000 to $85,000, an almost 50% increase. Clearly, there are reasons that UNK is falling short financially, and Montessori is not one of them. The Montessori program is supported by an endowment from the late Dr. Levon Planbeck, a pioneer of Montessori education in Nebraska. Dr. Planbeck trusted UNK to carry out her vision, providing the opportunity for teachers to obtain their Montessori certification and a master's degree concurrently. I've heard from more than one UNK administrator that this would not be happening if Levon was here, and this is happening a short 5 years after her endowment, 2 years after her passing, with her not here to defend the program. In my most honest and humble opinion, this is disrespect for this generous and iconic woman, and this is not the kind of ethics I want modeled for our children. University of Nebraska, I urgently ask you to consider the lack of logic behind this decision, to honor the vision of Dr. Levon Planbeck, and to help us to continue to meet the needs of the children and educators of the state of Nebraska and beyond. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mary Bowden Anderson.
Good morning. My name is Mary Anderson, and I'm the head of school of a Montessori children's room in Omaha. This is our 40th year as a Montessori school serving students preschool through 6th grade, consisting of 150 students, 85 who are enrolled in our elementary program. Over these 40 years, I have sponsored many teachers enrolled in Montessori teacher training programs by the American Montessori Society, including 4 teachers currently enrolled at UNK. The continuation of the UNK program is vital to the success of our school, and same rings true for all of the public and private Montessori schools in Nebraska. The Montessori method is not new, but it is new at the university level in Nebraska. As Dr. Planbeck said at the ribbon cutting of the Planbeck Center in 2019, quote, "This will become the first public university in the nation to make a commitment to Montessori education at this level," unquote. There are hundreds of public and private Montessori schools across the United States. These teachers work within these programs not only need a teaching degree, a state certification, but they also must acquire an elementary Montessori certification. Currently, UNK offers a master's program which fulfills this requirement. If we lose this program, Nebraska teachers seeking Montessori certification will have to travel to other states at great expense to the individual and to the schools who sponsor them. As head of school, I understand the necessity to follow a budget. I have always had the philosophy you never go backwards. When I planned to add something new, I thought it through. I looked at the pluses and the minuses and tried to make intelligent and long-term decisions. When Dr. Planbeck first presented her idea to donate millions of dollars to UNK, she thought it through. You thought it through. Her donation was accepted in good faith. Her vision was to offer Montessori teacher training within UNK's education department and set a standard for high-quality learning and instruction that will benefit the state's youngest residents for generations to come. The decision to cut funding for the UNK Montessori program might seem like the right decision. However, I am pleading the decision be overturned. The program is still in its infancy. It takes time to build a program with lots of support. Has UNK really given it the support it deserves? I would like to personally invite each of you to come to my school to see firsthand the impact Montessori teacher training teachers have on the lives of young students in Nebraska. I truly believe you will be mesmerized. Thank you.
Thank you. William Aviles.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Will Aviles. I'm a professor in political science at UNK and president of UNKEA, our faculty union. I am speaking today in regard to the budget reductions that UNK's administration is proposing that you all will be considering over the coming months. I am not only here as representative of my faculty union, but also for the over 250 UNK students, employees, and community members who signed a petition asking you to reconsider the budgetary reductions that our administration has introduced as its contribution to reducing the system's $58 million deficit. During this semester, a special faculty advisory committee and staff advisory committee on our campus reviewed UNK's budgetary needs relative to the system's shortfall. The faculty advisory committee concluded that UNK could not afford the elimination of more than 15 positions, nor can we afford the end of the theater program or the Department of Geography or the Montessori program. The committee emphasized that cuts which go beyond this threaten the experience UNK can provide to its students, surrounding communities, and other stakeholders in Nebraska and beyond. We would like you all to please consider as you go forward, what do we owe our rural Nebraskan students? We believe we owe them a comprehensive liberal arts education, one that involves a vibrant offering from our excellent humanities programs that unfortunately will disproportionately suffer the consequences from our administration's proposal, including the elimination of our theater program. The theater program is one that on average graduates a little over 6 students a year, one short of the CCP recommendations, has recently overhauled its degree and averages thousands of contact hours with their students on an annual basis. Graduates of this program are currently working as theater agents in Chicago, managing a theater company in New York City, or teaching music and theater at Gibbon High School. They are working across the state today in theaters, churches, conference centers, and for commercial sound and lighting vendors across the state. Our students, who disproportionately come from small rural communities across the state, seek out our campus for its small size, for the exceptional attention and support they receive from our faculty and staff, while being presented with an array of enriching experiences, not only in our great rural health programs and educational programs, but also in working with internationally recognized faculty in art, English, history, music, communications, and theater. We should do all that we can to ensure that UNK is not diminished in its service to these students and to the citizens of our state, but is maintained as a valuable investment in creating opportunities and sustainable futures for Nebraska. We hope that as you all proceed with these budgetary cuts, that you keep in mind the risk that the elimination of tens of faculty and staff positions and multiple programs portend for UNK's ability to meet the needs of rural communities and students who desire a comprehensive university experience in central Nebraska. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Michelle Warren.
Good morning, President Carter and Board of Regents. My name is Dr. Michelle Warren, UNK faculty in Spanish and Director of International Studies. And I'm here to ask you, what do we owe our rural Nebraskan students? My central Nebraska roots are deep. My parents met at Kearney State College and married in Kearney, where I grew up with a sense of the arts and the broader world around us, thanks to the experiences our university offers. Not because of some purportedly small number of graduates from our humanities programs, but rather because of the community that is nurtured by their offerings. After finishing my undergraduate degree at UNK, I spent 20 years teaching and studying on 3 different continents. I returned to UNK as a professor with a burning desire to contribute to what I was given here. Today, I see my department, Modern Languages, losing 2 members and potentially several of its language offerings as to become a Spanish-focused program. Let's not forget we have many other languages around our state. We owe our students knowledge of other languages and cultures to provide Nebraskans the services they will need. What do we owe our rural Nebraskan students? UNK has many first-generation scholars, many from small towns, and almost 15% representing new or nearly new arrived immigrant and refugee families. UNK provides a haven of intellectual and artistic experiences that attract and many times keep talented future professionals in western Nebraska. What do we owe our rural Nebraskan students? We owe them an affordable option near their homes so they can go back to their family farm to help with harvest in the fall. We owe them faculty of great renown and grand hearts. We owe them the Loper experience that Ainsworth Sr., Raven Stewart, expected when she chose UNK over Nebraska Wesleyan. Let me quote her. Defunding the humanities programs can cause dire consequences for individuals and society as a whole. Reduced critical thinking skills, weakened ethical foundations, diminished communication skills, impact on innovation, loss of historical perspective, reduced civic engagement. I write this letter for our future journalists, musicians, geographers, linguists, philosophers, and performers. Raven recognizes not just the humanities themselves, but also the necessary added value and skills that they instill in our young Nebraskans. So what do we owe our rural Nebraskan students? We owe them a strong, comprehensive, robust liberal arts education, in President Carter's words. We owe them and Raven an experience that will help them grow into well-rounded and thoughtful citizens of our great state. We owe them what is afforded to youth in our eastern cities. We owe them the climate that I grew up in and I brought my children back to. We owe them the Loper experience they expected when they committed to us. That's what we owe our rural Nebraskan students. Thank you.
Thank you. Al Kuntz.
This is a surprise to me. I was told I wouldn't be able to speak this morning, so thank you. I am Al Kuntz. I live here in Lincoln. I'm a 1976 Kearney graduate. I have 4 children. 3 have moved out of state. 1 has moved out of country. They have found opportunity elsewhere, and they will likely not move back. My oldest granddaughter has a full ride, room, board, and tuition scholarship to The Ohio State University. And in her 3rd semester, she has attained junior standing. Her goal is undergrad and master degrees, and more in 4 years. Her focus is education policy. President Carter, with all due respect, you might look her up. She may want your job someday. She is already on the board of an OSU campus advocacy organization called Students for Better Schools and Futures. That brings me to Nebraska. The proposed cuts at UNK will not make for better schools and futures in our state. I cannot fathom that UNK's long and storied theater program will not be preserved. UNK has the best theater building outside the metro area. It has a 330-seat theater with a 5-story fly space, a large scene shop, a sizable costume shop and costume library, and a black box theater that seats 100. This wonderful facility was meant for theater. It cannot and should not go dark. More important, generations of well-trained theater and speech teachers have gone from UNK and into Nebraska middle schools and high schools where they have taught sound communication skills. Through school plays and productions, these teachers have given their students a broader understanding of the world and their place in this world. Through theater, students have gained self-confidence. They have learned problem-solving skills as they rehearse, as they build and design scenery, as they resolve stage lighting and costume issues. They have discovered the value of collaboration. Closure of this fine theater, of this historically sound program, would be a loss felt across Nebraska. I know this budget shortfall is not all you're doing, yet here we are, undoing. I know the theater program can grow. Projects and programs offered in the past would resonate with and attract new students today. Notably, I would ask that the university leadership, the Kearney Chamber, and the theater department pull out all stops to return the NSAA one-act play competition to the UNK campus where it belongs. I, and I know others, would be more than happy to work with university leaders and theater staff to grow this program. Live theater, I believe, epitomizes the heart and soul of the UNK campus. Live theater is a core component of a complete education, and I ask you to preserve and work diligently to keep and grow this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Zuckerman.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Zuckerman, Associate Professor of Education Administration at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm a member of the UNL AAUP, and I serve on the Faculty Senate and its Executive Committee. Although I am not speaking on behalf of the Faculty Senate or its Executive Committee, I am only speaking on behalf of myself. I would like to share my concerns about the budget reductions and the process being used. First, from the perspective of shared governance, this process is not provided for faculty participation in decision-making. At UNK, it's clear that faculty's input has been ignored. At UNL, the process has not been transparent enough for us to provide meaningful input at the university or college level. From what little has been shared with us, many of these cuts appear to directly impact UNL's dual role as the state's comprehensive research university and land-grant university. From our own mission statement, this role includes, quote, to provide for its student body and all Nebraskans the widest array of disciplines, areas of expertise, and specialized facility of any institution within the state. However, the largest category of cuts that have been shown to us are titled instructional efficiency and include reducing courses and frequency of course offerings and reducing electives. In my department, we have already reduced electives to the point that in some programs there are no electives, which means our students do not have access to the widest array of courses in our discipline. These cuts look like they'll reduce graduate and undergraduate teaching assistants that support faculty, especially in managing large introductory level courses. Cutting TAs will hurt students who rely on them for extra instructional support. And these cuts will limit our ability to attract high-caliber graduate students and to train them to teach at the college level. Moving graduate students to alternative funding suggests moving them to soft money lines. If we cannot guarantee graduate student funding for their full program, we are not going to attract high-quality students who can contribute significantly to our teaching and research missions. These cuts look like they'll impact lecturers who teach numerous courses in the department that contribute to students' ACE requirements. These are the requirements that ensure students have exposure to the wide variety of disciplines that have been regarded for centuries as the bedrock of a college education.
There are also cuts to staffing for programs that support undergraduate education and student success. And quite honestly, given our graduation rates and stated desire to rejoin the AAU, this feels extremely short-sighted. If we're not able to provide the breadth of educational experiences and the support student needs to be successful, we're not going to be able to attract and retain students, which of course is going to be detrimental to our bottom line, but worse, it's detrimental to Nebraska and the need to grow our workforce from both within and outside of our state. But without transparent communication, it's hard to know exactly what these cuts are going to do to our instructional program. And I will just end by saying that in my training, the Education Administration, efficiency and excellence are diametrically opposed values. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Gamble.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Gamble. I am a Montessori school owner and director in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a single mom of 2 kids. I'm a graduate student in my practicum phase at UNK, seeking a master's in education and simultaneously the Montessori early childhood credential. My original Montessori training was under Dr. Levon Plambeck in Omaha, Nebraska about 12 years ago. There are almost 40 Montessori schools in Nebraska, both public and private, serving thousands of children. Children who deserve a great start to life and a great foundation for future academic learning in the institutions that you're here to represent today. These children will go on to represent Nebraska as adults, academically, socially, and professionally. In addition to these students, the majority of the Montessori schools in Nebraska are small businesses like mine and like Mary Anderson's. When you take away this training and this educational opportunity for young professionals, you not only hurt the small businesses in Nebraska, but the Nebraska economy. As a small business owner and a Montessorian, it's very hard to find quality classroom teachers, and it's an astronomical cost for us to send potential guides out of state for training. If you cut this program, you force us to either compromise the quality and authenticity of our Montessori schools, or you force us to send our dollars out of state. Furthermore, you're removing an opportunity for low-income early childhood professionals and independent parents like me to earn a degree with their certificate and possibly provide a better future for our families. Like Dr. Montessori said, children are the fate of our future, and we believe that Montessori gives children the best start to life. If you have any questions, I would be happy to sit down with you, have a cup of coffee, glass of wine, or lunch. I challenge you all to invest in our future by investing in Nebraska's children. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Vazansky. Did I say that right? I apologize if I didn't.
All right, thank you. Good morning. My name is Alex Vazansky. I'm an associate professor of history at UNL and the vice president of UNL's chapter of the American Association of University Professors. The mission of the AAUP is to promote academic freedom and shared governance in higher education. I'm here today to express our chapter's concerns that neither of these critical principles are being upheld in the process by which the budget cuts currently underway in the Nebraska university system are being handled. Academic freedom is not only a right, but a serious responsibility to ensure the highest standards in teaching and research. Professors do this by peer reviewing each other's work and advising the administration to ensure that the quality of education we offer the students at our university is protected, and the integrity of the research we generate for the betterment and profit of society is upheld. We take this charge seriously. In times of financial stress, decisions must be made that can at times dramatically affect the education offered students, and rearrange professional workloads in ways that significantly affect the faculty's ability to teach and research. At these times, how these decisions are made becomes crucial to protecting the mission of the university. Administrators bring experience in managing large, complex institutions and in understanding their finances. Many of you on the board have similar expertise in the business world. But universities are not, in the end, businesses, and teaching and research are their own areas of expertise. Without a close consultation with those who do this work every day and know in intimate detail what is necessary for the university to continue effectively to carry out its educational responsibilities in the state of Nebraska, serious mistakes will be made. Just such a mistake is about to be made regarding the shape of the curriculum at Kearney. A faculty committee took seriously the need for cuts and considered carefully their administration's ideas on how best this could be done. They made the modifications they felt were necessary to protect the teaching mission of the university, drawing on decades of expertise and in performing that mission. This is proper shared governance. Ignoring the recommendations is not. UNL is currently working through its own budget reduction process. A committee of faculty has been convened to seriously consider the administration's proposals, and they are soliciting advice from the faculty to ensure that areas critical to our teaching and research missions can be properly protected. However, the information provided by the Chancellor about these proposed cuts is so vague as to render effective assessment and advice nearly impossible. This is also not shared governance, and it too will result in serious errors. We are asking you to respect the expertise of the people who carry out the mission of this institution every day. Insist that each campus engage in a true, properly shared process for deciding upon these cuts, and reject any proposal that fails to do this. We intend to fight for the integrity of the teaching and research mission of this university. We ask for you to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Harley Schruck.
Hello, my name is Harley Shuck. This is Ivy. I am a married mother of a 3-year-old, and I'm a graduate of Ravenna High School and a practicum student in the UNK Montessori Teacher Education Program. I'm your average person trying to follow my passion in the most financially responsible, high quality, and personally fruitful way. And in all honesty, I thought I had found that at UNK. I went from no college plans at all to joking about going to college forever because I have loved this learning journey so deeply. The program was about to be the backbone of my education journey, and now it might be taken away. And I'm asking you to reconsider that. Nebraska has over 30 plus Montessori schools, including several public ones, that are growing and will be in need of staff throughout the future. The Nebraska community has already shown up for Montessori by supporting these schools, and now it's your job to stand up for the Nebraska community and do so as well. UNK should use this program as an opportunity to serve the community they care for. The state does not have universal early childhood education, so the least the university system should do is invest in all of the teachers that will be in all of their local schools. They are your future neighbors and the next person in your seat. The program being at a collegiate level allows a person to not only get the certification and college credits, but also financial aid, making it more accessible overall, as training should be accessible and affordable for any person working with children. Teachers are not just educators, but they are community pillars and impact more students than a person could ever have children. Let's ensure they have access to child development education so they may best create intrinsic motivation and a lifelong love of learning from a young age. Not every method of education will work for every child, as each child is truly different. And that's why it is so necessary for the university to invest in various types of educational methods. In order to reach all of our students successfully, they must have access to all of their options. While it may not seem financially viable at this time, the growing understanding of the importance of the early years will change that. Immense enrollment increases over the last few years already show this as well. Lavon Plambeck spent her life for the cause of children, and Montessori worked with UNK to create what was supposed to be a shared vision. And I question if UNK has actually done their part in that and to ensure the success of that vision. And some of the evidence brought forward by Kathy Sweet alone give you more than enough reason to question this program being cut without more information. As a taxpayer, small business owner, mother, student, educator, I'm alarmed by the shortfall, as all of us are, and I'm personally affected by the decisions that you will make today. And I hope you deeply consider any decisions that you make and its impact. And to echo the words of the president, I ask you to be bold. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina Wareham.
Good morning, and thank you. I'm Dr. Regina Wareham, and for the past decade, professor of sociology here at UNL. I'm an expert in educational policy and in higher education. I collaborate with faculty across UNL colleges, including engineering and the School of Natural Resources. Today I'll speak about how spending money on Learjets and a stadium reno while cutting academic funding will directly affect the university's core teaching mission. The downstream effect on research productivity and the goal to rejoin the AU is a separate, highly problematic issue. As faculty in the College of Arts and Sciences, which is absolutely central to the university's teaching mission, I can tell you firsthand how we are already at the breaking point in our ability to meet our students' and our unit's needs and the HLC's expectations. Faculty lines are down 20% in 5 years. Enrollments are not. Even with recent enrollment dips, our students' needs have increased exponentially due to our pandemic-related learning gaps, health, housing, financial problems, increasing our workload. I am now the instructor of record for 10 courses in my department. It is impossible to create efficiency this way and has two consequences. First, I have to invest way more time into preparing an ever-changing slate of courses than my apportionment of 16 hours per week allows. So I end up working 55 hours a week and off contract just to get research done. Second, I have to cover courses at the edge of my expertise so the institution can keep its academic rating. Makes me feel like the Swedish chef, if you know who that is. This let's stomp on the faculty and tell them to do more with less approach is completely counterproductive. So are the media reported funding cuts aimed at non-tenure track faculty and graduate students who often teach crucial courses associated with experiential learning, in labs of all sorts, in a supremely cost-effective way. They also help bolster our research productivity and institutional prestige, which y'all say you want and need. And cutting the College of Arts and Sciences resources, which operates at a net profit to the institution, will turn us into a glorified vocational school. It will not enhance our standing with our peer groups. Good luck with the Big Ten or the AAU when you cut graduate programs that feed the national pipeline in STEM and beyond. I trust the BOR prefers for this university system to remain the state's flagship. I urge you to use funding sources wisely and reject any cuts that come without full faculty participation in the decision-making process. Thank you.
Thank you. Patsy Koch Jones.
My name is Patsy Johns, and I probably come at this from a different perspective. You might look at me and think that I'm a teacher, and I am, but I want to come at this at the perspective of the students in Nebraska. Nebraska is my home state, and I love this home state. I was born in Spalding, Nebraska. My family is from Greeley. I grew up in Grand Island, and when I graduated from high school, I had no idea that I would go to college. That wasn't even in my thought process. No one in my family had been in college, and so I didn't even think about it. But due to my mom, who said, I think you should go to college. She had a 6th grade education, and many of my family had no more than that. I thought, well, I'd give it a try. When I look back on this, I walked into a situation where I had no idea what I was doing. And UNK embraced me, and the arts embraced me, and all of a sudden, I was looking at a degree in the fine arts. One of my assignments from my favorite teacher was to look at history and what history said. The formula for a well-educated person was a successful person. So I looked at some people like Leonardo da Vinci and William Shakespeare and Michelangelo and Darwin. And what I discovered to bring back to report to my class was almost all of these people were not only fine arts people, but they were science people. Darwin drew every one of his creatures that he discovered. He was a visual artist. I think cutting this theater department is a misplaced effort, not only because of me and what happened in my life, but what I see continue throughout my service to Nebraska for over 40 years of teaching. I think it is a misplaced cut. Instead of cutting, we should be nurturing so that other students like me will continue to have the opportunity to do something they never dreamed that they would be able to do and become productive citizens of Nebraska that contribute to Nebraska students. Opportunities for all these young people are needed. And UNK has provided those opportunities in a very special way in their theater department. I do not think it should be cut. And because of that, I would ask you to really consider the thousands of students that I have taught theater to and the other students that other theater teachers have taught and how we have changed their lives and made their dreams come true at UNK.
Thank you. Becky Carter.
Good morning. My name is Becky Carter, and I'm the Education and Marketing Director at the Hills Montessori in Omaha. I am also a mother, a grandmother, and a taxpayer. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to talk to you. I'm here to speak to the question of why UNK should continue to support the Montessori Teacher Training Program. I respect all of your quests for excellence, and I agree with it 100%. But there's no better way to support excellence in Nebraska than investing in those who educate our next generation. You may not be persuaded by an emotional or personal story about how Montessori changed my life 38 years ago, but I just can't help myself. I have to share. I began my Montessori story when I was fresh out of high school at the age of 17. I fell in love with the philosophy and how much reverence this approach has for children. I ended up taking Montessori certification training through Dr. Levon Planbeck's center, and at that time I could not have imagined the lifelong impact Montessori would have on my life. All 6 of my children attended Montessori schools in Omaha from age 3, most through 8th grade, and we were instrumental in starting the first Montessori high school in Omaha. 3 of those children are now Montessori teachers today. 1 is certified, and another will be looking for certification through UNK in 2024. I also have 5 grandbabies who are currently thriving in a Montessori preschool. Montessori is unlike any other approach to learning, and at the most crucial age, Montessori nurtures a child's natural sense of order, concentration, and independence. And best of all, Montessori ignites the natural curiosity in children and their innate thirst and quest to learn. It is my understanding that UNK does not believe that there is a market to continue to support the Montessori teacher training program, and I am here to testify that this has not been my experience. There is great demand for Montessori, and it doesn't appear to even be at its peak. Not only is there a current childcare crisis in Omaha and across the state, there are so many more families needing quality care options for their children than there is availability. And that demand for high quality care is also in high demand, as my consistent 18-month wait list would indicate. Over the 10 years that the Hills Montessori has been in existence, we have served hundreds and hundreds of families, and it does not stop. The calls do not stop. We currently employ 35 teachers, and within the next couple months, we'll be opening a second location and hiring and needing another 35 teachers. Additionally, we serve over 120 students currently, and we'll be doubling that by this time next year. From my experience, the greatest dilemma that Montessori schools face is the lack of trained Montessori professionals. Where am I going to find quality Montessori training for those needing to be trained, and how will we be able to continue serving all of the families that are searching for this quality program? So I ask you to please reconsider budget cutting that program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for the professional decorum throughout this discussion. The standing rules further provide that anyone desiring to speak concerning any item on the agenda for this meeting, regardless of notice, may do so. As you come forward, please identify yourself and complete the sign-in sheet. You will have 3 minutes to speak to the board. All right, there being no persons wishing to speak, I now declare the opportunity for public comment closed. The record for today's meeting will also reflect that the board received written testimony from Nicole Merrill and Allison Kinney Walker regarding the Montessori program. It's now time to consider the consent agenda. The consent agenda, as indicated by its name, is moved and voted on as a group of action items as opposed to the administrative agenda where items are considered and discussed individually. With that said, unless any one of my colleagues on the board wishes to consider any one of these items on the administrative agenda, I would invite a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion? Is there a second? Got a second? Roll call, please.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Choltis? Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Yes. Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear? Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny? The motion passes.
Thank you. I would ask President Carter to guide us through the administrative agenda at this time.
Okay, one item under Academic Affairs. Item 11A1 seeks your approval to transition the graduate certificate in medical family therapy from joint administration by UNL and UNMC to sole administration by UNL. UNMC no longer has the core faculty to administer the program and supports the administrative action. This item was reviewed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve this item? Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second to Regent Whites. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear? Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny? Yes. Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Moving to Business and Finance. Item 11B1 seeks your approval to name the new sorority life building at UNK after Bess Furman Armstrong. Bess was a native of Danbury, Nebraska. Her journalism career started young, as her father was the publisher of the Danbury News, where she learned to set type as a child. Bess attended the Nebraska State Normal School at Kearney, which is now UNK, and served as the first woman editor of the school's student newspaper, The Antelope. Bess's storied journalism career included a post with the Associated Press Washington office, where she became lifelong friends with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, regularly accompanying her on trips outside the White House and promoting her favorite causes. Later in her career, Bess served nearly 20 years with the Washington Bureau of the New York Times, which led to her appointment as head of the Press Information Section of the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. When appointed this position, Bess was the first woman to hold a top press job in a cabinet agency. Naming the new sorority life building is a fitting way to honor one of UNK's most accomplished alumni. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Okay, is there a motion to approve 11B1? And Kenny, is there a second? Second, Regent Shear. Any discussion? Regent Molina.
I'd like to just give some brief remarks about the importance of the sorority community on our campus and how excited they are to have a newer, remodeled place to live after some maintenance issues in their old building. And I'm happy that the building will be named after a strong, accomplished woman like the women who will live there in the building. That's all.
Okay, further discussion.
How many students can stay there?
Doug, do you have a number of how many students are in this building?
Oh, you'll probably, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, we toured this when we visited your campus last year.
Great. All right, further discussion. Call the roll.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Shear? Yes. Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer? Yes. The motion passes.
Following a competitive qualifications-based selection process conducted in accordance with Regents Policy 6.3.7, Item 11B2 seeks your approval to select Kiewit Building Group as the construction manager for the Memorial Stadium Infrastructure/ADA phase. This contract is valued at up to $1.8 million. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
All right, motion to approve.
Second.
Who made the motion? Regent Molina, okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more clarification. So in the past, we've spoken about some of the possible off-ramps that we'll see as we move forward with the project. And I'm wondering, as we approve this, does that change at all any of our ability to change?
No, this is just the very first phase. Money's already appropriated for or raised for this. So this is just the very, very first phase.
This is to address the ADA
compliance issues.
And the projects that are planned then do not necessitate moving on past that point to some of the, okay.
That's correct.
My understanding is that the money has to be raised for each phase before any work commences on that phase.
That's correct.
So if this project, the first one is 45 million, if that's all the money that's raised, then we stop and nothing else happens.
Correct.
So it's an opportunity for the citizens, the taxpayers, and the folks that use the stadium to have an opportunity to improve the stadium, but only if they want to give. And if they don't give, then we do nothing. Is that correct?
Understand.
I think that gives everybody an opportunity to weigh in. If folks want to give to that project to make it happen, then it moves forward. And if it doesn't, then it goes nowhere. But it's not a situation where this board or anybody else is forcing the university athletics to spend upwards of $450 million. I think that's important. I think there's a lot of confusion out there where a lot of people think because we're moving forward that we're going to that it's automatic, and it's not. And it's only going to occur based upon phases and the money being raised and in hand before any projects move on or are started beyond phase one.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to reiterate to the board that this project is required regardless of what happens going forward. These are improvements that had to be made at the stadium in light of the $450 larger project. So it's just a lot more efficient to plan for the larger vision, but these are improvements that have to be made regardless.
Right. For the stadium to be ADA compliant.
Correct.
Which we're out of compliance right now.
Correct.
Further discussion.
Yeah, to continue with that question, as we go forward, we also spoke about the ability to know where our sources of funding were coming from before approving each phase of the project. Has that occurred here?
It's all private. No taxpayer dollars. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Yes. Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B3 seeks your approval to enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement with the Nebraska State Patrol for supplemental security and law enforcement support at UNL events. UNLPD provides primary security and law enforcement at campus events, but at times needs to draw on the support of other law enforcement agencies. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion? Been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, you guys arm wrestle. Phil, figure it out.
I'll let her win.
Okay. Discussion. All right, call the roll.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B4 seeks your acceptance of a 2000 Learjet 45 aircraft offered by an anonymous donor to support the University of Nebraska. Regents Policy 6.6.7 requires the Board of Regents to accept any single gift over $1 million in value. On behalf of the university, I want to express my sincerest thanks for this generous offer. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
All right, is there a motion to approve? Kenny, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, okay. Is there discussion?
I have a comment, a question, really. This is a wonderful gift and very generous, but I also know that it comes with expenses, like pilots, like fuel, things like that. Is that accounted for in our budget when we accept a gift like this? Is there any support money that comes with it?
So there was an analysis done on that to answer all those questions. I'd ask Chris Gabor to just address that question.
Yeah, thank you, Regent Whites. So as a reminder, Department already had share ownership, so there already are expenses we pay for our athletic department coaches, athletic director to use private planes when we can. So we've done an analysis. There is a roughly maybe a 15% increase in those costs that we're currently paying, but now we will take ownership of the plane completely. So over a 5-year period, it was almost cost benefit neutral when we did the full analysis.
Does that come out of the athletic budget, or does it come out of our general operating expense?
It will be fully funded by the athletic department.
And I guess I have a question too on insurances and liabilities. Do we have additional expenses that we're going to encounter that direction?
We will pay a management fee to a third-party company that manages all that. They will provide the insurance, the storage, the pilots, all that for us, maintenance.
Regent Shear.
Just out of curiosity, I'm assuming we've looked at the airplane as far as the engines and so on. I know they take a massive overhaul every 100 hours or whatever it might be. That are we far enough away that we aren't going to encounter a large expense sort of up front to essentially rebuild the, it's still worth what it's worth, but are we looking at that?
Yeah, obviously there's been a lot of due diligence. Those kind of issues have been looked at. Obviously there'll be some upfront upkeep costs, but to answer your overall question, my understanding of the plane is in fantastic condition, and other than a few minor upgrades, we should not expect any major capital improvements when we acquire it.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Call the roll.
Regent Latoro?
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining? Okay. Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Passes.
Item 11B5 seeks your approval to execute a ground lease at Nebraska Innovation Campus for a proposed USDA Agricultural Research Service buildings. The initial term of the lease is 20 years with one 20-year option to extend The leased land includes a total of 4.51 acres upon which a head house/greenhouse facility and lab/office facility will be constructed. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion? Motion, Regent Molina.
Second.
Second by Regent Latoro. Discussion. Regent Shear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the contract that was in the paperwork, a couple things I just wanted to make sure. This is just for the ground lease of the property. Clarification for those that have not looked at it, we are receiving $1 a year use of the ground. Is that correct? And at the end of as the term expires, the building then remains, the ownership remains with the USDA. Is that correct? We have the opportunity to purchase it at fair market value. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
And is there any compensation then at the end of the lease that would provide the university with any offsetting funds for the use of the ground for that 20 years if we choose to purchase it?
No, there's no offset to the fair market value purchase price.
And are there any other specifications in the lease that would be unusual to any other document or leasehold agreement that the university is used to doing?
Not in this ground lease, no.
Are utilities provided by the university at our expense?
That's not in this ground lease. There will be a separate document that will be negotiated with the USDA with respect to the maintenance and ongoing operation of that facility.
And back to and if I could, Mr. Chairman, there's nothing specified other than the term fair market value. Do we have any definition of what will be used as fair market value at that point in time? Because obviously I'm not going to be around in 20 years, and so it would be nice to have those preset in the agreement rather than to argue about it in 20 or 40 years from now.
Sure, and the federal government does have a standard for determination of value in these types of but we can also look at specifying that in the follow-on agreement that will deal with operations and maintenance.
Well, I just think it's better to have things known rather than to find out that there's a difference of opinion at some point in time later when no one else is around. So,
what have the discussions centered around on utilities?
Speak to that.
Yes, thanks, Regent Schaefer. The conversations around utilities, when we engaged in the conversation, there is always some kind of partnership agreement that's mutually beneficial to both in this case, the U.S. government, USDA, and the university. The upfront investment, for example, of $140 million of construction would all be through federally appropriated dollars. The USDA, through additional appropriated funds, will double the size of their staff. That's essentially think of it as 20 faculty and probably 40 support personnel that the University of Nebraska will not ever pay for, and that will be paid for by the federal government to augment the staff. In addition, our part of this would be to help offset utility costs. That's the conversation point that we brought to the Business Affairs Committee, and based on our conversation and the strong advice to get that out of the ground lease and have further discussion, that's what we did. And we are in that conversation right now about what that cost share could look like. Right now, the number is $500,000 a year, payable once the buildings are built. As this ground lease states, the project will be phased. The first phase is a greenhouse, comes out of the ground hopefully next year. The lab office building, which is quite sizable, and would take the most of the utility cost, isn't projected to even come out of the ground until and occupied until 2032.
I guess I'm troubled by approving a ground lease on one hand, yet there's another agreement that's going to hinge upon this and be tied to it directly that potentially could commit us to paying $500,000 a year utilities for the next 20 or I believe there was a
years.
second.
Only the utilities would only be for the first 20 years and only once the buildings were occupied.
But that's $10 million.
It is, but that the revocable permit with the special conditions is an active point of discussion based on the feedback we received between our general counsel and USDA general counsel, and that would come back to the Board of Regents for your consideration and action as appropriate.
Would it make more sense to have that done all at once?
It would be great to have that done in a perfect world all at once, but navigating a complex federal appropriations process and Congress, trying to secure the planning and construction dollars, and then navigating just the federal administration and getting us all buttoned up was very difficult. And so this is a path forward that allows us to continue moving this significant project forward. It still gives us an opportunity to take an off-ramp if the conditions aren't acceptable to the board.
What's the hurry in this? Why don't we just table this? And that's probably what I'm going to recommend is that table this.
The complexity there is that this project has been in motion with the USDA going back to pre-Ben Nelson's era. There was a desire to have a USDA foundational building on the Innovation Campus, and that was never realized. 10 years later, in 2020, this surfaced as a priority project for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That kicked in an appropriations process where then Congressman Fortenberry went to bat and secured the planning funds. Senator Fisher, Congressman Flood have now taken this on as a champion. They've brought in $31 million into the USDA for this project. There's another $25 million sitting in the U.S. Congress appropriations bill. And so there's a lot of momentum on this project. In order for the project to continue and to keep the momentum going forward, the USDA needs to be in a position to have this ground lease in place so that they can release their RFP to stay on schedule according to the federal guidelines. And that RFP will be for the first phase of the project, which is the head house greenhouse. If we stall, it puts this project in serious funding jeopardy at the federal level.
But if we don't stall, we're potentially committing ourselves to 10.
Again, that is a point of discussion, Regent Schaefer, with the agency, and nothing goes forward without bringing the special conditions revocable permit to the Board of Regents for your consideration and action as appropriate.
Just, this is my opinion, but I don't believe we should be committing to something of this nature, this magnitude, unless it's been fully vetted and checked and all the details are coming to us, as opposed to just bringing us a skeleton outline at this point and then start hanging stuff on it down the road. So I'm going to vote against this today unless I guess I'd be willing to make a motion to table this until sometime in the future.
Could I ask a question? The 10 years, or the lease agreement, when it comes time to commit the $10 million, we have an opportunity to say no at that time? Or
yes,
no?
Again, this action today is stating that the university is willing to go into a 20-year agreement to lease the ground upon which a federal building would be constructed, complete with federal dollars. That's what action is today.
Okay.
Further action then is what are the details in how the building is operated, who covers what. That is, that would come before this board, and you would certainly have the option to say yes or no.
So we're really talking about committing the lease time and the non-use of the land for 20 years. Can we break that lease if the federal dollars disappear?
Yes, there are provisions within the lease that if the facilities are not built within a certain period of time, then that lease would terminate.
I'm not a real estate expert, but it strikes me that this is kind of a low-level risk. But that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. Regent Shear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe the noncompliance is a 3-year time frame. Is that correct? Am I recalling that correctly on the contract? If nothing's done, they forfeit the lease, I believe, in 3 years.
I believe that's accurate. I can go back and take a look.
And although it is somewhat low risk, I think it also means it's, if you're involved in real estate, that also is committing that real estate for 3 years, regardless if they do anything or not. If some other opportunity came forward, you have signed a lease for that ground, and it's 6 months later, and they're still dragging their feet. We don't have the option or the opportunity to take advantage of a different. So, I mean, there is a cost to the lease and the opportunity. I guess I would say that I can support this portion today, but I'm very leery of the utilities portion of this. I have not seen what we're talking about, so I don't know the specifics. We're talking about $500,000. Is that $500,000 this year, or is it just we pay the utilities, and those obviously could generate more dollars in the future? Don't know whose budget that's coming out of, and I don't know that that's always the norm for a governmental body to expect the utilities to be funded by the ground owner when there's no income produced from the ground. And I guess, talk about inopportune times. We're talking about other things that are happening on the campus that are generating a exodus of dollars. $500,000 is $500,000, and I don't know how many positions that would be, but regardless of whose budget it comes out of, it's a reduction of whatever that amount of personnel would be. So I'm very leery of supporting something that would be that large of an outflow of expenditures without some type of cap. I don't know what energy is going to cost in 5 years or 10 years. And I would hate to put the university in a position where they're at risk of a much bigger expense even than the $500,000 we're looking at now. So just in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Regent O'Connor.
First of all, I do appreciate that this is a complicated partnership with a lot of moving parts, and I know that the timing of each part might not be coming forward at the same time, even if it would in an ideal world, and that is the nature of projects of this scope. That said, I want to be on record that I am very proud of this partnership that we have with the USDA. I think it's going to be a project that will be very beneficial for the university, and it will create a big opportunity for Nebraska. I support this project moving forward, and if this lease is a step in that direction, I'm absolutely happy to support it. On utilities, I do believe that, from my understanding, a discussion of a cap has been initiated and that we are working on that with a lot of due diligence. And this is just a general question, but do you know if there are other universities that have a similar type of relationship with the USDA? Is there an arrangement of assisting in utilities or providing utilities for partnerships of this nature? Is this something that's out of the ordinary?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Regent. The USDA Ag Research Service has 95 locations across the country, and has partnerships with nearly every land-grant flagship university. So that is not atypical. There are some campuses, like right now here currently in Lincoln, where we have 67 USDA personnel, but they are housed in University of Nebraska Lincoln facilities. At US Mark in Clay Center, we have university faculty housed in USDA facilities, and there are special conditions partnership agreements there. It's all the states across the country. I'll point to Auburn. Auburn's right now in the midst of a program. Washington State and North Carolina State. If you look at their special conditions agreements, not exactly utilities, but there are mutual support, in-kind costs, land swaps, you name it. Each one of these relationships has something a little different. Ours looks a little different than those other three I just mentioned. But
Okay.
yes, it is common to have cost share agreements. It's all predicated on a long-term, mutually beneficial win-win for both parties that can be documented.
Thank you,
Regent
and thank
Kenny?
you for your work on this. I'm very excited about the project.
Kenny?
One quick question. In the ground easement or ground lease, is there an easement after 20 years to access the property?
There is an option for an extension, a renewal of the lease for another. But after the term, then
We would be back in the driver's seat.
A question, Mike. You had mentioned before something about the possibility of private funding for utilities. Is that something that you're exploring?
Yeah, we're exploring, Regent Stark, we're exploring every option to address the kinds of details that Regent Shear brought up, and that would come forward to the board. Those details would be specified for your consideration and action as appropriate.
I would be supportive of tabling this until we can maybe pull a little more information together, and, we could reconsider at the February meeting, and I can't think that a couple extra months to gain some information would be that harmful to the. I would make that motion.
Motion to table per the standing rules is not.
All right. Call the roll.
Regent Molina,
I abstain.
Regent Peckish,
No.
Regent Latoro,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
No.
Regent O'Connor,
No.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Shear,
No.
Regent Stark,
No.
Regent Whites,
No.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Clare.
No.
The motion fails.
Okay, other comments? You had your hand up, Regent Shear.
Thank you. It really had to do with the last motion, but understanding there's no discussion available. But I in reference to that, I think it's unusual because I think a lot of times the federal government works in mysterious ways. They will take years, formulate something, and then all of a sudden they want their half to be done in 32 days. So I hate to jeopardize a project, even though it's only a 2-month, 60-day delay, perhaps, before we meet again. I would hate to have them find another alternative use for those funds during that 60 days and perhaps lose that opportunity. So I still have the same concerns, but I certainly don't want to hold up the project as well. So.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Well, first, I do appreciate some of the regents and their prudence in looking at the dollars, because as I believe you mentioned, Regent Schaefer, this is real money that we're talking about, and I appreciate that. So, like, the question that I would have then comes to the project as a whole, and if you could touch on, for some of us who hadn't heard it before, what the vision is for the ultimate student experience and what the project's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so the project overarching is that this would be the sole national center of excellence around regenerative and resilient precision agriculture, digital agriculture. And the USDA Ag Research Service could have picked anywhere in the country to put this facility and make this federal investment, and they chose Nebraska. And they chose Lincoln, Nebraska, and they chose the Innovation Campus specifically because of the other platforms like the Food Innovation Center, the Greenhouse Innovation Center, the Entrepreneurial Makerspace, so forth and so on, and our partnership with Invest Nebraska, Bio Nebraska, called the Combine, that really focuses on entrepreneurship. So the student experience here will be for graduate students, for postdocs, these USDA scientists that will go from 67 that currently reside and work in Lincoln to 150. So we're adding more intellectual capacity at a time, candidly, when the university's budget doesn't allow for a surge of 60 new faculty and staff in this particular area that's of interest. So the federal government will help us there. Those federal scientists all advise graduate students at the University of Nebraska. In addition to that, the cooperative scientific grants funding that is generated between USDA scientists and UNL scientists actually creates quite a bit of experiential learning space for undergraduate students in the STEM disciplines who are considering graduate pathways. And then the third direction is through the entrepreneurial platform around ag tech. And we have students, faculty, and staff who are innovating in this space. Jackson Standstill, a master's degree student, recently started a company called Sentinel Fertigation, targeting digital application of nitrogen in ways that enhance profitability of producers while protecting and remediating groundwater quality. So those are some examples of how the student experience would be enhanced by this platform.
How long would it take to get the information on the utilities?
Yeah, we are working extremely hard on that, and Stacia is the chief negotiator. So, you know, in a perfect world, I would love to have those details, Regent Schaefer, to the board in time, following your deadlines and timelines in February at the latest. We would be required to have that put together prior to occupancy. So I would say sometime between February at the earliest and realistically probably September at the latest of next year.
So I want to make a couple comments on this. I'm going to take you all back to when we set up Innovation Campus, and we had a goal for three things: food, fuel, water, and we were going to be one of the leaders on food, fuel, and water. And so with that ag focus, what Mike is bringing forward is a project where we're providing the ground and they're going to build a building. And with all due respect to the utilities, I recognize it's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I think the benefit far outweighs the cost of the utilities. And in a partnership situation, that's our cost. That seems to me to be a very reasonable cost. I appreciate wanting to work down and maybe get some other avenues to provide for those utilities. I would appreciate that. I think that'd be great. We need to be conscious of our dollars. But again, at the end of the day, what this project will create is consistent with what we set up Innovation Campus for. It's consistent with what we're trying to do to help feed the world. And so I think it's a great project. It is a partnership, and a partnership requires both parties to invest something. And so this is the USDA, a huge federal organization that is responsible for ag. The research that's going to be done, my understanding is a lot of that research is going to be impactful as far as our admission, hopefully back into the AAU. The projects that are going to be done there is going to help in that regard, so it checks that box in my mind as well. The fact that we're bringing other employment, the ripple effect to the city of Lincoln, the state of Nebraska is beneficial. That will be a benefit to us, and it will probably enhance other USDA partnership opportunities. Is this out of the realm of is this so off base that other institutions, that are different from other institutions. No, as Mike, as you said, each lease is slightly different and is going to requires different things. Our commitment is the payment of the utilities. Yes, it's a lot of money again, but I'm not concerned about that. I like the idea of this project for those reasons. I think it fits with what we're trying to do at Innovation Campus. I think the ripple effect of what this project will do as far as spinning off other ag-related businesses, ag-related research, ag-related excellence that will come from this project. I'm extremely enthusiastic about that. And in the words of my good friend Ted Carter, time to be bold.
One last question.
Just a minute, please. Go ahead, Barbara.
Okay. My sense of this is what Ted was talking about, playing offense and defense.
Exactly.
To me, this is playing offense.
Do we get any kind of break on utilities from the city of Lincoln?
I'm not a utility expert. Probably would defer to my colleague if he's still in the room, Mike Zeleny. But the utility platform, Regent Wilmot, at the Innovation Campus is fairly unique. It's called a CRESS system, and in fact, it uses the Lincoln wastewater treatment facility as almost, think about a geothermal. Instead of putting the geothermal into the ground, it actually sends the pipes with the coolant and the heating solution to the wastewater treatment facility, where the heat generated by the wastewater treatment plant actually helps temper the water, and that water then is used to heat and cool the facility. So it is a very smart utility platform, and candidly provides a lot of buffering capacity from utility rate increases, so forth. So as to what that relationship looks like with the city of Lincoln and that wastewater treatment plant and the Nick Development Corporation, I can't speak to those details.
Regent Schaefer.
And I really appreciate all the discussion. That's helped me kind of open my mind to this a little bit more, possibly supporting it. I guess my question is, if we approve this today, have we committed anything then in the future?
No, we have not.
Cool. With that, I'm going to go ahead and support this, because I do feel it is important for the university, and most importantly for our folks across the state who are engaged in daily production agriculture. I think, in my opinion, we need to do everything. Farmers and ranchers that across the state driving our #1 economy business factor in the state, which is agriculture. And so I will go ahead and support it if there's commitment. Then my understanding is clear then that there's no commitment on utilities.
Last, Mike, it's my understanding that this is one of the hottest areas in ag tech, and it's like we are playing offense, but there's a number. We're blessed with some incredible philanthropic foundations, and I can think of 3 or 4. I'm sure they're in your mind too, that you're going to probably approach to help pay for that. In terms of cost benefit, I think they would be very interested. So I'm fairly optimistic we could get some support from foundations.
Yeah, thanks, Regent Stark. We definitely are working hard at looking at all of the options on this facility and others that are hopefully planned for the future out there.
Regent Kenny.
I'm gonna, probably just echo that. But for my business, I've been able to sit here like a year ago, sit and watch the combine pick corn, how it yielded at Amherst, Nebraska. So technology is so far in there, and it would be such a great deal for the area to get it. Now is our job and Mike's job and everyone's job to not take that $500,000 away from the university, and someone help us with it. Somewhere, somehow, somebody, I'll help you with that, and take it off our load and make it a better deal for the rest of it. And that's why I would support it. It's a better ground lease, and it allows us to do that now, to take a look and see if we can and cover that cost of the university, it's a lot of money. And, yeah, it would be a great deal to have here, but also it's something taken away from something else in the university if we don't find it. So I think we'll have the ability to do it.
Anything else?
Can we call the question?
We just did.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Schultes?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny? Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Two housekeeping really quick. Regent Schultes has been in an interview, and that's why she was stepping out of the meeting and coming back in. And so I just want to point that out. It's not
Not disinterest.
not disinterest on her part or anything. So anyway, I hope it went well. We're going to take it. Well, I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break and be back here at 11:15 to wrap up the remainder of our. Is it going to be it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's get started. Thank you for your patience. Proceed with, I believe it's item 11B6.
Yes, item 11B6 seeks your approval of the program statement for the Infectious Diseases Air Transport Training Facility at UNMC. This facility will include training spaces of different scales, including a large space to house the C-130, the C-17, the NPCC Light and NPC training units, as well as simulation classroom spaces for smaller activities. This facility furthers UNMC's successful partnership with the Air Force through a program called C-STARS. Consistent with our protocol, this project will only move forward to construction if all federal funds are secured. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make it.
Oh, go ahead.
Regent Kenny.
I'm quick.
He is quick. After a break, he comes back spry.
That's right. New Diet Coke.
Did I hear a second down here?
There was.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion. Is there discussion? Regent Shear.
It's sort of serendipitous that this might be the next item. Just drawing a comparison, Chancellor Gold, the facility is an Air Force facility. They're paying for the construction, or the federal government's paying for the construction of the building.
That is our understanding. That is yet to be completely worked out, but these dollars for the planning are 100% federal dollars.
And it will be their facility, they'll pay their utilities then? Is that?
That is my understanding, but, you know, all of that is detailed to be worked out in the future.
Fair enough, but I guess I want to point out that it's not unusual for the government to pay for its use. And I'm not to be argumentative, and I think it's important for USDA to be centered in Nebraska. It is important for all the research. But Nebraska taxpayers are not alone responsible for funding a way to feed the world. That's got to be more than just the university, Nebraska, providing funds. It is an important issue, but it's a shared issue, not a singular issue that should belong only and exclusively to the university. And I thank you, Dr. Gold, and I'm very supportive of both of those, and especially this one, because I think this has very long, far-reaching events as well. So, wholehearted support. But it's the contrast between the two also leads me to believe that further negotiation could help. So.
As someone with, I have nearly 20 years in the Air National Guard and been familiar and kind of worked a little bit in the background with Chancellor Golden, General Bohawk, and Dr. Cradaville on this project, and they've kept me abreast on it. And I can't tell you how excited I am that we are doing this here at the University of Nebraska, that we're going to be working in a partnership with our Department of Defense to protect and defend and care for our military men and women across not just the country but globally. And so I think this is a giant step for that, building that, continuing that partnership as the research that we do through the UARC and NSRI I think is extraordinary, and it's research that just you can't even put a value on it. Put a value on it, you're putting a value on someone's life, and I think you can never put a value on someone's life. So. With that, I'm going to strongly support this and endorse this full approval by the board.
Thank you. Other comments? Call the roll.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Schultes?
Yes.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B7 seeks your acceptance of a $1.9 million extension facility gift from the Nebraska Philanthropic Trust to provide additional storage for Baxter Arena. Regents Policy 6.6.7 requires the Board of Regents to accept any gift over $1 million in value. On behalf of the university, I want to express my gratitude to NPT, the Nebraska Philanthropic Trust, for this generous donation, which will positively impact Maverick athletics. This item was reviewed by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right, any discussion on this? Okay, acknowledgement of thank you to the Nebraska Philanthropic Trust for their donation. Call the roll.
Regent Schultes?
Yes.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Item 11B8 seeks your approval to name the Rural Health Education Complex the totality of the building completed in 2015 and the building currently under construction after Chancellor Douglas A. Christensen. Chancellor Christensen has been an ardent champion for Greater Nebraska, especially the health sciences workforce needed to keep our communities across the state vibrant. In collaboration with colleagues at UNK and UNMC, Chancellor Christensen has championed initiatives like the Kearney Health Opportunities Program, or KHOP as it's known, Building a Healthier Nebraska, and most recently the expansion of UNMC College of Medicine, Pharmacy, and Public Health programming to Kearney. The lead philanthropic partner for the project has requested the university name the complex after Chancellor Christensen. While Regents Policy 6.2.7 states that facilities shall not be named for individuals currently employed by the university, the board's policy does provide a provision for the board to grant a waiver at the request of a major philanthropic partner to the project. Chancellor Gold and I wholeheartedly recommend this item for your approval and wish to express our thanks to the project's supporters and Chancellor Christensen for his enduring leadership.
All right, is there a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
I don't
I'm going to ask Dr. Gold to speak first.
Well, thank you. On behalf of the University of Nebraska Medical Center, we enthusiastically support the naming of this facility for Chancellor Christensen. Undying efforts have been truly amazing, and this will be a remarkable project, not just for Kearney or the University of Nebraska at Kearney, but frankly as a leader across the world for one of the largest health science satellite programs in rural America. Secondly, I had the opportunity to speak with the primary donor family as recently as yesterday, and she asked me to extend to you her very strong endorsement for this naming. And this is a family who cares deeply about the university, deeply about rural Nebraska. And so for both of those reasons, I certainly hope that you will support this exception to the Board of Regents policy. Thank you.
Regent Shear.
I just wanted to congratulate Doug for the honor.
I think he chose to step out given that it was about him.
Well, fair enough. But more importantly, I will shut up now because I know he has a wedding and a rehearsal he needs to get back to this afternoon. So congratulations.
I will say on Doug's behalf, he was somewhat mortified that this was being put on his name. Not something he would have ever asked for. It's a great honor, and as we went through our legislative priorities, as we were thinking through this a couple years ago, Doug and Jeff were both instrumental in making this project come to life.
Regent O'Connor.
I just want to say that one of the biggest concerns I've heard during my time as a regent has been ensuring that we continue to get health care to Western Nebraska. And with this complex, Chancellor Christensen really has envisioned something that few others could have possibly contemplated in Nebraska. And through his work with strategic partners, absolutely including Chancellor Gold, Chancellor Christensen has created that and made it a reality. I think this complex will literally change the future of the state, and I think it will likely save lives, countless lives in the future. We couldn't have done this without Chancellor Christensen, and I think it's a fitting honor after all the work he has done. So I think a waiver is appropriate here because it really is an unprecedented project.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more. Regent Molina.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something on behalf of the students of Kearney. As we mentioned several times before, this is truly life-changing as a project in general, and of course it couldn't have happened without the support of Chancellor Christensen. It was only shortly after my election as student body president out in Kearney when some agenda items concerning this project came before the board. And I was new to the position, and I was speaking with Doug, and he said, there's some concerns about funding out there, but don't worry, we'll make it happen. I'm sure that we can make it happen with the funds. And well, what do you know? He did. And the donor community has appreciated him for it. So I strongly endorse this. Thank you.
Regent Schultes.
I would echo everything everybody has said. As a former loper myself and a K-hop kid, I know that I have, particularly personally benefited from the Chancellor's efforts to expand rural healthcare and to get providers in the rural areas of our state, which desperately needs it. And so in all my efforts working with him as a student at UNK and now in my role at the Regents at UNMC, I have just loved every moment of working with him, and it's just been such a wonderful time to serve with him and see what he's been doing. So I very much am in support of this waiver to honor him in this way.
Fantastic. I'm glad it's not a memorial. All right, any other comments?
That was mean.
I would just add, I guess, I was familiar with Doug to some extent when he was in the legislature. But after taking the orientation tour with him on UNK campus, I was so struck by the rapport that he has there, how much you could tell they appreciate him and love him. It wasn't, as he met students as we were out and about, it wasn't one of those when you kind of see the student kind of, oh my gosh, none of that. It was just, I don't know, there was just a really warm feeling. Mm-hmm. And so I think he's very well deserving. And I know from a lot of the contacts that I have in the Kearney community, that's a community-wide.
Thank you. Good comments. Okay, call the roll.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Schultes?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Who, me?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11C1 seeks to appoint Chris Kaborik as interim president for the University of Nebraska. Is there a motion to this appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Before I open it for discussion, I want to make a few comments about Chris and why I think he'll do a great job in this role. As all of you know from working closely with Chris, he's built a strong and trusted relationship not only within the university but across the state. In his 26 years that he's been with us, he has the skills and experience necessary to move us forward at this critical moment in our university's history. We are underway with major capital projects, a historic fundraising campaign, and the bold plan President Carter has laid out to address the significant fiscal challenges facing really all of higher education. And we also are in the process of reimagining ourselves for the future in terms of where we're going to be and the impact we're going to make on the world. We cannot afford to lose momentum. We need to be bold. I have great confidence in Chris's leadership. I know that he will work together with the chancellors, vice presidents, and the entire university community to make necessary progress on this 5-point plan in the months ahead. And I'm honored to support the selection of Chris. And I think what really also I love about Chris, and I've said this before, when we asked him what are his thoughts on this, and he said, I'll do anything for this place. I love this place. And if we can get every leader having that attitude, and every person, every campus having that attitude, that infectious attitude, of whatever is in the best interest of the institution. I'll do anything to help the institution. I support you. Open up for other comments.
I think Chris is a great choice for this. There's definitely was other qualified and deserving folks under consideration for this position during this time of transition from President Carter to his successor. However, I think with where we're at budget-wise and everything going on at the university, this gives us our best opportunity to have a seamless transition, to have someone that can almost step right into the shoes of President Carter, although those are big shoes, but Chris has been at his right hand for the past 4 years, and so I think with that, there shouldn't be any slowing down or taking the foot off the gas for a short period of time to get someone else reacclimated and up to speed on what's going on. Everything going on, this does allow us to keep on a steady trajectory and to continue to go as fast as we can forward to accomplish the goals.
Other Regent Scheer.
I lied. But I just wanted to comment because I was just thinking this university is extremely lucky to have several people that we have internally that we could look at, and any one of them could have done the job rather than having to go and outsource it and bring somebody without the experience of the campuses to try to lead those campuses. And I just find that just so unique that it wasn't that we had one, we had multiple people that we all discussed and had a hard time determining which one would work best in that position. And a lot of the folks that were under discussion probably don't even know they were under discussion, but it just is, in my mind, phenomenal that we have that many high-quality administrative people on staff that we had the opportunity to discuss and be able to count on, maybe not as the interim president, but in their current positions. I think it's a well-deserved honor for Chris. It may be something that 2 months from now he'll wish he hadn't accepted, but it certainly reflects greatly on the rest of the administrative staff and the chancellors and directors that we have that amount of opportunity that we could select.
Thank you. Chancellor Christensen.
I think I speak on behalf of the chancellors that we fully support Chris. We look forward to working with him. There's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to require all of us to work together. 100% behind and ready to go.
Thank you. Thanks for your...
Appreciate that.
I'll try to keep this short since I love to talk too much, but I think that we all understand.
And you said you have lab at 1 too.
I leave pretty soon here, but I think we all understand that 25 years of experience is 25 years, and that there's a number of different facets of Chris's experience that has allowed him to be able to perform the job. But I think the most important thing is in character and in the personality that he's developed. I mean, I constantly ask questions and I constantly badger members of Varner Hall for any kind of information that they have. And consistently, Chris has not only shown me kindness and respect in these questions, but he's answered them with no, I forget the word now, but not a sense of burden towards it at all. And he approaches each problem I see with that same attitude, that helping is not a burden. And I think that that's beyond an important quality for a leader to have. So I think from a student perspective, at least, this is somebody who can understand where we're coming from and work with us to really achieve the goal of shared governance.
Fantastic. Good comments.
Yeah, I would just like to second everything that Regent Latoro said, and same thing where I'll be asking questions, and Chris is helpful to not only connect me but other students, and is always really good for that. And I think it makes sense that with the 5-point plan we've been discussing today, that Chris is the right person to keep in that right direction. I'm very excited about that.
Dana.
I'll shortly echo those thoughts. He's been an excellent partner in business and finance and is more than willing to help anybody understand what they need to in order to make effective decisions as we move forward.
Other comments?
I wondered if Chris had any comments.
Well, I was gonna offer that if he was gonna have some comments and say, I've been told that the best days to be a president are the first and the last.
Probably should wait till you take a vote. For
Wise.
Well put.
All right, let's, we've got a motion and a second. Let's call the roll.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Latoro?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear? The motion passes.
Now, interim president.
Yeah, I think my comments would have been very different. The vote would have gone the other way. And I also think maybe I should have referred to my good friend Chancellor Christensen and maybe just stepped out of the room so I wouldn't have to make any comments. I just want to thank the board, trust. And I want to thank President Carter for his support and his mentorship. The chancellors, the vice presidents, almost everybody in this room, my business and finance team. I know this said a lot, but I'm truly humbled by the opportunity. And it's probably more than I would have thought possible as a kid growing up from David City, Nebraska. I was the first in my family to go to college. I got through college on loans and Pell Grants. But I think that investment and that sacrifice is proof of what higher education can do to the trajectory of one's life. And it truly has changed my life. This institution has changed my life. And my promise to the board and to our students and to all Nebraskans is that I will do everything I can to create other opportunities for students out there who also might be thinking about going to college. I love Nebraska. I love this state. I love this university. And I will do whatever I can, as I told Chairman Clare and Vice Chairman Schaefer, that I can do to help the institution while you search for the next, during this leadership transitional period. Luckily for you, as we heard earlier, we have a plan in place. I think it's the right plan, and the job right now is to keep moving on it and see it through. So we're going to work really hard. We're going to use common sense. We're going to get things done. We're not going to pause. We'll be held accountable, and we'll do everything we can to set up the next president to be successful on day one. So on behalf of my family and myself, thanks again for your support. This is a privilege of a lifetime, and we're excited to get going. Thanks again.
Okay, President Carter, did you want to have any remarks relative to you being being your last meeting, or about President Kaborik before we return to the business meeting?
Well, first I want to say congratulations to Chancellor Doug Christensen for the naming. I know you were out of the room, Doug. They didn't talk bad about you. So congratulations. That is a great honor. And I'm really, really excited for Chris Kaborik, interim president. We work so well together. He knows this institution as well as anybody. So congratulations to you, Chris, and to the board for making that decision. And finally, my last comment would be not just for the university itself, but to the people of Nebraska. You know, August 22nd was a really big announcement day and a very tough decision for myself and my wife to decide that we would continue in higher ed, but in a different location, similar mission, but different campus. And as I've done throughout my 38 years in the Navy, I moved about every 3 to 4 years, and I seem to be consistent. But what's most notable for my wife and I has been just the grace and respect to the people of Nebraska that respected our decision, some of which was based on family. Yeah, a lot of people know we're really from the East Coast. But to be here in the middle of the country, the only place that my family and I had not lived. We lived in all four corners of the country, overseas multiple times. It's been the most wonderful experience. We'll consider Nebraska our second home for the rest of our lives. And I will always root for the Huskers, the Lopers, the Mavericks, and yes, the Labs. Except, when they play that other team. But thank you to the board. Your support and our time together has been one of the most cherished moments in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, President Carter. Chancellor Christensen, would you're back in the room. Would you like to say a couple of words?
Well, it's a tough act to follow. I'm not going to be near as eloquent as the last two. I hope you would not take my absence as an indication of disinterest or of disapproval. It's humbling. I tremendously appreciate your support. There's a lot of people who ought to have their name on that building who helped, all of you included. There's no one person who made this happen. There's lots of people. And they sat at the State House, they sat here, they sat out in the campus. There's just so many people who have been on the side of this operation. The challenge now is to make it happen, and my good friend Jeff Gold gets to make that happen inside, and we'll make sure that happens for all of you. But I'm humbled and deeply appreciative. Thank you.
Okay. Item 11C2 seeks our approval to appoint the board chair as the designated representative to vote on the university's proxy relating to matters of the members of Nebraska Medicine. As a reminder, Nebraska Medicine has two members, in effect owners, the university and Clarkson Regional Health Services. In December of 2020, the board appointed the president to serve in this capacity, as Regent Stark and the Health Affairs Working Group have continued to evaluate our governance structure relating to health affairs. This change is recommended. So is there a motion to approve item 11C2 on our agenda? A motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Call the roll.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Latoro? He left. Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. I accept the reports listed on the agenda on behalf of the board. Is there a motion for closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Regents go into a closed session as authorized by Section 84-1410 of the revised statutes of Nebraska for the protection of public interest and to prevent needless injury to the reputation of persons who have not requested a public hearing for the purpose of holding a discussion limited to the following subjects: personnel matters involving the University of Nebraska staff and strategy with respect to pending legislation.
Litigation?
Litigation, yeah. Litigation, legislation, it's all sort of this.
Well, I'll second
Tomato,
that.
tomato.
I'll second that. Call the roll.
Regent Molina?
Yes.
Regent Peckish?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare?
Yes.
Regent Kenny? Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer? Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're now going to be in closed session, so as you leave the room, please take all recording devices and personal belongings. 12:36 p.m. And we are now in open session. My script says a.m. Holy cow, that was a long closed session.
I have to wait to make that accurate.
Right. There being no further business, and if there's no objection, we're adjourned.